But hello everyone and welcome to this session based around volunteering matters and how to engage and empower young people. Um, I hope everyone's looking forward to Christmas. It feels like it's about, I don't know, it feels like it's been 5 minutes since the last Christmas. So yeah, I hope everyone's kind of keeping warm and keeping upbeat on the lead up to that. Only a few more weeks to go really. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Aimee, and I'm the oh, my light's just fallen over. I'm the membership officer here at Social Enterprise Scotland. Joining me is Jane, who's the membership manager. So we make up the membership team here at CES. It would be great if we could get a wee sense of who's in the room. So if you could just indicate in the chat who you are, what organisation you represent, and where you're coming from, then that'll give us a little flavour of who's here. So I'll give you a wee second to do that while I fix my light. Great. Everything. So this session is, we decided to put this session on as part of Scottish Careers Week 2025. Volunteering Matters are a member of Social Enterprise Scotland, and they kindly offered to host this webinar as we've been kind of consistently getting feedback from sessions that we've been running over the past year. That involving and retaining young people is quite challenging in the third sector, and it's something that was of interest basically to put a webinar on. So yeah, we're really happy to have them along with us today. Volunteering Matters is one of the UK's leading volunteering charities, creating opportunities for people of all ages to get involved in their communities. They focus on empowering individuals, supporting young people, and making a positive impact through volunteering programmes across Scotland and the UK. This session is going to explore how volunteering can empower young people, open up career pathways, and strengthen community connections. A key focus will be the Youth VIP programme, which we'll talk a little bit more about, which gives young people a stronger voice in shaping volunteering opportunities. So we're going to start off with a bit of an overview of who Volunteering Matters are, what they do. This will then be followed by a run through of the Youth VIP programme and how that works. We'll then meet the youth panel, who will do a guided Q&A where they'll discuss their volunteering experiences, and then we'll open up to questions from the audience. So loads of expertise and experience in the room, and it looks like it's going to be quite a busy session, and we've only got until 2, so I think we should just dive in. And just a bit of housekeeping as well before we begin. If you can keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking, then that would be ideal. We are recording this session as well, so if you'd rather not be in the recording, then you can turn your camera off. But it's nice to be able to see all your lovely faces, and I think it kind of brings something to the session. But yeah, I think we'll just kick off then. If I can ask you, Sarah and Sam, to go.
Thank you so much, Aimee, and thank you so much for that warm welcome. Thank you to everybody for spending what is perhaps your lunch hour with us this afternoon. It's great to see some familiar faces and names on the call, and also some new ones as well. As Aimee said, we are Volunteering Matters, and you'll learn a lot about us, Youth VIP, and how to get involved in some of our work over the next 55 minutes. My name is Sarah Cook. I am the head of corporate partnerships and major donors, as well as having a strategic lead for our work across Scotland on behalf of Volunteering Matters. It's quite a mouthful. And I'm joined by some of my fantastic colleagues and wider community at VM on the call today. So we have got fantastic and brilliant Sam and Fraser, who are both colleagues at Volunteering Matters. And then we've got two of our terrific young volunteer panel, Allana and Shaun, who are also on the call too. And you'll get to hear most of those individuals over the course of the next 55 minutes. As Aimee says, we've got a lot to get through. We do have a bit at the end of this section, which is specifically a Q&A with our terrific young volunteer panel, Allana and Shaun. who are representatives of the wider panel here today. So any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and hopefully we will be able to answer them. If not through the course of the content that we'll be covering, then certainly we can pick them up as part of that Q&A section as well. So I'm going to start with a little bit about Volunteering Matters, who we are and what we do, to set a bit of the scene. So as Aimee mentioned there, we are all about creating strength in communities through the power of volunteering. And you can see on the screen here that we have a wide variety of work that we deliver across the UK. We've been going for over 60 years, and we deliver over 85 programmes across the regions of Scotland, England and Wales. And you can see some of our stats there around volunteers and beneficiaries, which we are incredibly proud of, and we know creates fantastic impact within the communities that we serve. And we have this very distinctive approach at Volunteering Matters as one of the largest volunteering charities in the UK. And that is that volunteering means and looks slightly different and feels slightly different depending on which community you maybe are part of or you belong to. Volunteering is certainly not a one-size-fits-all approach. And we will cover some of that over the course of our time together. But we know, and I'm sure many of you on the call also know, that starting a culture of volunteering when people are young and in those formative years is absolutely crucial in sustaining the values of volunteering and the benefits that that brings to communities as those young people grow and create their journey through both their professional and their personal lives as well. And we have seen firsthand what happens when you really give power to young people to be able to shape decisions, to be able to shape choices and chances that they have, by being able to give people that faith that they can have some decision making and some free reign over the destiny that they may fulfill in their future career as well. And we want to make sure as well that these opportunities are inclusive. So a lot of our work focuses on maybe marginalised groups, those that maybe don't often get the chance to share their voice and be heard. So that's a really massive part of our work across the UK as well. And we've just gone through a very intense process of creating our 5-year strategy at Volunteering Matters, which started probably around about this time last year, and we have recently launched it in the past 2 weeks. It has been a labour of love, but importantly, it has been shaped by the communities that we work directly with. And in doing that process and in going through that process, we have come up with 5 change areas that is basically the change that we want to see, are those areas that we know that our work delivers on, that drives towards, and that focuses in creating positive impact within. You can see them on their screen there. So we've got combating loneliness, improving health and well-being, breaking down barriers, equip and enable communities, and create social cohesion. And as I said, a lot of our work varies depending on where you might be based and what the challenges within those communities might be. But we know that volunteering has the opportunity to unlock the potential and the opportunity to overcome barriers and challenges within those communities. So within all of our work across the 3 nations, you will see these golden threads being woven, interlinked. And when we look at youth volunteering and when we look at young people connecting with volunteering projects, we know that a number of these change areas are impacted through the work that we already have. Being able to give young people place and space to shape communities around them, overcoming isolation and loneliness, which we know is a real challenge, especially linking to mental and physical well-being in amongst our young people. Breaking down barriers, so setting from the very offset that young people have a place, they have a voice, and it can be used for good, is an incredibly positive kind of sign to show in creating system and transformational change in the way that we make decisions, both on a local basis and also on a national basis. And it also helps people feel really connected to those around them, both in their direct community and more further afield as well. And one of the things that we have really championed at Volunteering Matters is what we call our volunteering ecosystem. And we talk a lot about the mutuality of volunteering. And this is why we think that volunteering, and we truly believe in our bones that volunteering has transformational impact to create positive change, is because volunteering is not a transactional process. It's very, very rarely something that someone does to get something good back. It's very often the case that people will give to a cause that is bigger than them because they want to support and help others. But importantly, in doing that action, they also get something good back themselves. So we can often talk about volunteers and those that benefit from volunteering activity, but we don't necessarily talk about the benefits to the volunteer themselves. And today we're going to hear a lot about that from Allana and Shaun on this call. Volunteering is around this ecosystem, around this mutuality, that if you give, you also get back, but it's not on that transactional basis. And in order to do that, we need to look at the ways that volunteering shows up in a number of different forms and guises. Volunteering is not a one size fits all, it's not a cookie cutter, it's not very neatly formed and defined. Volunteering can go from anything from a very one off a very inflexible way of working around volunteering, something that you maybe help at an event that's once a year, or maybe it's only ever happened once. You give your time to deliver and support that. All the way through to people that are leading systems change and taking action to create change in the communities around them. And we'll hear a little bit about that from our fantastic panel members today, and everything in between, because we know that people have varying degrees of time, energy, ability to commit. And so what we make sure is that across this volunteering ecosystem, across all of the different programs that we deliver at Volunteering Matters, there is a way for people to use that energy, skill, resource to be able to benefit others in their community. And this is where our volunteer ecosystem really comes to the fore. It is not a one size fits all solution. It's something that's much more flexible and enables people to engage, to work towards those 5 change areas that I recently just mentioned. And we're going to look at a couple of ways around how we benefit young people, specifically in Volunteering Matters, through this volunteering ecosystem. So 3 programs that I specifically picked out, which focuses on benefits to young people through volunteering. So we run one program, Brighter Futures, in Edinburgh and also in Dumfries and Galloway, where we work specifically with S2 to S4 pupils who are on non-traditional timetables, or they may well be needing additional support within the school environment to engage in that kind of school community. And what we do is we work with those young people with through a supported volunteering placement. So they might not be feeling like they are getting the opportunity that they need through school. School might not be an environment that is supporting or encouraging or developing or nurturing them. So supported volunteering, i.e. going out into the community and working and volunteering with a community partner, is a great way for those young people to develop skills, to understand the attributes and the skills that they already have, to be able to push that further, to be able to understand how they can learn differently outside of the school environment. And that programme has been working for a number of years with those schools, both in Edinburgh and in Dumfries, to fantastic effect, to give young people the opportunity to flourish and develop outside of that traditional school environment. We also run a befriending programme, specifically the one here is in North Lanarkshire, where we take those with care experience and give them the opportunity to receive specific support from a volunteer mentor and guide, to be able to give them a little bit of support outside of maybe their care responsibilities at their home or in their specific environment that they might need to be using those. And so what that involves is the volunteer support befriender, really working directly with that young person to give them the chance to, actually develop themselves, to have fun, to create some great experiences outside of those responsibilities that may weigh heavy on them through their day-to-day life. And the last one here that I've mentioned is our Grand Mentors programme, which we run throughout the UK. In Scotland, we deliver this specifically in Perth and Kinross, which is where we match mentors who are over the age of 50 with those who are from a care experience background, and they work together over an 18-month programme to really look at how we can use the experience and life skills of our grand mentors to benefit that young person as they look to exit the care system and go on to their next steps in their lives. So quite often that mentoring is around things like finance, housing, professional decisions around education and jobs and employment. And really that close relationship that is built up between the grand mentor and the mentee is absolutely invaluable in supporting those people to make the right decisions for themselves as well. So three examples there of how we support young people through volunteering opportunities. The thing I would highlight as part of these three programs is that, interestingly, sometimes the young person is the volunteer, sometimes the young person is the one who benefits from that volunteering activity. So I wanted to highlight the diversity of how, coming back to that mutuality, around sometimes it's about directly giving your time to be a volunteer, and sometimes it's about receiving that. And the one thing we really strive towards at Volunteering Matters is looking at that cyclical approach. So how those that may benefit from volunteering may go on to actually volunteer themselves for a cause that they believe in and they want to give their time to. Because we know that that's what's going to really create that systems change approach across Scotland. And then I wanted to touch on a programme that's incredibly close to my heart. So Youth VIP. And Youth VIP is a programme that I've been personally working on for about 3 years now. And as I said at the start of the call, I've got my fantastic colleague Fraser and two of our Youth VIP panel members, Allana and Shaun, on the call today as well. And Youth VIP is it's not a programme as such, albeit it does have programme in its title. So the Youth and Volunteering Innovation Partnership is the acronym for Youth VIP. But the programme was started in 2020, commissioned by the Scottish Government, who were at the time looking at youth volunteering numbers and noticing that there was a trend, and it wasn't necessarily a positive trend in the kind of growth or decline of volunteering in young people across Scotland. And they brought together a consortium of partners and said, what can we do about this? What is within our ability? What are the challenges? And how are they presenting themselves? And at that time, we got together a group of young people to answer those questions. One of the things we really champion at Volunteering Matters, and specifically in Youth VIP, is that as adults and as those who are maybe aged 30 and over, 25 and over, we cannot expect to have the answers of what's holding those aged 16 to 25 back from volunteering as actually asking those young people themselves. And so in order to understand the context for what eventually went on to become Youth VIP, we had to really talk to young people themselves and ask them what the challenges were. And so this is what happened around 2019. And in 2020, a set of recommendations went to Scottish Government around 9 key areas of focus that said, these are the 9 areas you really need to look at if you're going to grow youth volunteering in Scotland. And Scottish Government read and accepted all of those 9 recommendations, which then went on to form the focus and priority of the Youth VIP programme. And we have been driving towards that focus ever since. And right now we are a consortium of partners that deliver Youth VIP, so made up of Volunteering Matters, Young Scot and YouthLink Scotland. And I'll come on to a little bit about the consortium in a second. But importantly, what I want to stress about Youth VIP is that as much as there may be 3 delivery partners and delivery organisations, Youth VIP is intended to be an initiative and an agenda that belongs to the whole of Scotland. This isn't owned or gatekept by any organisation, because initially we really want Youth VIP to not be needed anymore. That is our ultimate aim. We want Youth VIP to become extinct, because when it does, it means that we will have achieved sustainable and inclusive volunteering across the UK for young people. And that is our core agenda. And so what we do is we work with a number of different stakeholder groups. So we know that in order to achieve inclusive, sustainable volunteering in young people, it's not enough to just work with one community group. We need to work with a huge host of players to make this possible. And importantly, that involves having young people at the core with links and voice and action related to each one of those community groups. But we know that it cannot sit in isolation. And so as a result, we work very hard across a number of different areas. So that obviously involves young people themselves. It involves parents and carers. It involves schools. It involves local authorities, TSIs, third sector interfaces, volunteer involving organisations, governments, and absolutely everyone in between as well. And so we've been working really hard over the last 5 years to be able to create those links into all of those different areas. We work across 32 partner TSIs. And importantly, with working with the TSIs, we really want to support those locations and those priorities of those TSIs where they exist. So that isn't about us saying we should run a campaign in Dumfries and Galloway about youth volunteering. That's about working with the team at that TSI to say, what is your biggest challenge with youth volunteering? What are some of the things that you've tried in the past? How did that work? What was good? What wasn't so good? How can we learn from it? And how can we support you to do better? And that's really where my colleague Fraser, who's on the call, comes in and comes into his role beautifully in creating, strengthening, and fostering those relationships across our communities. We have a volunteer panel, which is 18 members in size. Allana and Shaun are obviously two of those, who come together on a quarterly basis to help review and inform our programme, to help support the partners to do more, to help share their experience of what's working well, maybe where the challenges are lying, where they're hearing barriers for young people accessing volunteering, so that we can then go to our programme and say, how do we make sure these themes are mirrored? How do we make sure that we do something about this? And how can we make sure that we're providing support where it's most needed? And those 18 volunteers are absolutely incredible individuals in their own right. But when you come together, you get an absolute melting pot of vibrancy, energy, experience, determination. I can tell you that if those 18 young people are anything to go by, then the future of Scotland is in incredibly safe hands because each one of them are a credit to themselves. And finally, I thought I'd mention our two community of practice schools, which is an interesting piece of work we're starting this year, which we're incredibly excited about. We know that schools and volunteering is a huge opportunity, and we want to support schools to be able to unlock volunteering within both the school curriculum, but also the wider school environment as well. So we're working this year with two partner schools, one in Fife and one in Perth, to be able to support the teachers and the wider staff base to embed a culture of volunteering throughout the school, which moves from everywhere from the leadership of that school all the way through to the students of that school and the broader community as well. So really looking at schools as an opportunity to unlock that volunteering culture in young people and using that as a model that can be replicated in schools throughout Scotland as well. So watch this space on our community of practice. I mentioned there a little bit about our youth VIP panel, and I won't dwell too much on this because we're going to hear from two of our superstars in a minute as well. But our panel really are the turbocharge behind the programme. And Allana and Shaun are obviously in that photo there as well. So sorry, I didn't give you the warning that you were going to be in the photos on screen. But our panel, you come away from those sessions with inspirational ideas, knowing whether you're on the right track, opening up wider networks to really embed and support our work in a more cohesive basis as well, which is fantastic. And they themselves are incredibly diverse, which means that we are able to tap into different agendas, different kind of areas of volunteering, and using their experience as volunteers themselves to help guide us on what our future programmes should look like as well. And so one of the last things I wanted to mention before we come on to a bit of a Q&A with our two panel members is that we ran a recent research report. So obviously Youth VIP had been 5 years old at the turn of this financial year. And we had obviously started the programme with a piece of research that did some information gathering from our young people to understand the state of volunteering. And we thought we actually are basing a lot of our work on research which is now 5 years old. So we needed to do a little bit more of a state of the nation. Let's understand what's changed. Let's understand maybe some of the things that have improved, some of the things that are still existing, or some of the new things that have developed over those 5 years as well. And we are really proud of that research report. We're really happy to share that with those on the call after this session. But we managed to engage over 400 young people in completing an online survey, which we then backed up with specific focus group sessions on demographics of young people that weren't really represented as part of that initial survey response as well. So it really allowed us to dive deeper into some of the themes that we were hearing from that research, and some of the things that we wanted to understand on a more granular basis. And so we were able to capture data from every local authority area across Scotland. And we were really proud of some of the areas that we were able to get access from. So specifically thinking about the large proportion of young people who completed it who were care experienced, and also those who cited a long-term illness or a disability. So making sure that we were really lifting up some of those voices that sometimes feel that they are not listened to or acknowledged as much as they should be. And one of the things that I really wanted to highlight on this call for the purpose of today's session, we asked people why they didn't volunteer. And I think some of the things that we think about in the volunteering sector is we presume we think why we know young people don't volunteer. And we actually were quite surprised at some of the data that came out of the reason why people didn't volunteer. And I think really the one thing that I would like people to take away from that slide on the screen there is around, it's not necessarily because people don't have time. Yes, obviously people are busy, and that is a large proportion of those that came back. But young people don't see interesting opportunities, and they also don't see opportunities necessarily for people like them. So we really need to think about how we're advertising, where we're advertising, and the format that we're looking for in terms of that volunteering opportunity to make sure it is getting engagement with young people themselves. Importantly, as well as that research, what we supported young people to do is to create 9 recommendations for success. So if we're thinking about young people not necessarily feeling like volunteering opportunities are for them, or it doesn't look fun, or there's something holding me back from taking that up, then those 9 recommendations are absolutely gold dust. And being able to look at an opportunity and think, does this align to what young people have said as part of this research and data gathering exercise? So we almost use it as a bit of a checklist with some of our partners to say, which areas of these 9 do you feel you are already delivering and are really strong? Which areas of these 9 are potentially holding you back? And could you do some work on to make sure that we're profiling in a way that will appeal to young people? So as I say, we can share that report after this session with all of those on the call. And just a couple of quotes before we hear from our young people. So volunteering to be fun. I think this is quite often the piece that feels missing from volunteering opportunities. Yes, there's obviously a responsibility. There's people giving time, depending on what that might look and feel like. But it has to be fun. There has to be that reason behind it for getting engaged. There's no point doing something you don't enjoy, and I couldn't agree more. And obviously, on the flip side, talking about the mutuality, there's a huge amount of benefits that we know lie in wait for young people through volunteering opportunities. And we want to make sure that we are giving those opportunities to as many young people as we can so that we are unlocking this confidence and skills box for young people to take those next steps. And so finally, you'll have finished hearing from me, which I'm sure for many will be a relief. So that's a little whistle stop tour through our work at Volunteer Matters and a little bit about Youth VIP. But I wanted to now talk to Allana and Shaun. Aimee, I'm not sure, are you able to, sometimes you can pin certain profiles to the
Give
to
that a
the
try.
screen, just so that you could see Allana and Shaun. Sometimes they go to the bottom, don't you? I'm not sure if that might work. Oh, fantastic.
I don't know if you can spotlight two at once.
Oh, can you not?
You might be able to, but
We might do some
I'll just double check.
seat hopping or uh, ordering at the top
Oh
of.
no, you can. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic.
Learning
Thank you so
experience
much,
for me.
Aimee. Zoom skills that are being learned on the hoof. Thank you so much. Fantastic. So Shaun and Allana, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself very quickly to those that are on the call? So maybe your name, your age, maybe where you are in your life stage in terms of education or employment, where you're based, and yeah, then we can get into some of our questions. Allana, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm Alana. I'm 20 and I'm from East Ayrshire and I'm in my third year of university studying law.
Thanks, Allana. Shaun?
Hello, everybody. My name is Shaun. I am 23 years old. I am currently in my third year of studying community development at the University of Glasgow. And I'm also currently in Japan on study abroad. So I'm joining all the way from another country. And that is but back home, I am based in Kirkintilloch in Glasgow. Nice to meet you all.
Shaun, what time is it?
10:30.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I was trying to do very quick maths or anything, and I'm not. Fantastic. You should have said hello in Japanese. How is your Japanese coming along?
Konbanwa, which means
There
good
we are.
evening in Japanese.
Fantastic. Well done, you. Incredible. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So, both of you, I wanted to start by obviously, you are two of our terrific Youth VIP panel members, which is obviously a voluntary role in itself. But both of you have very impressive backgrounds with regards to the volunteering journeys that you've been on and some of the projects and organisations that you've supported through volunteering in the past. Allana, do you want to kick us off by taking a whistle stop tour through your volunteering journey?
It's quite a long one, so sorry for the length of my speech. So I first started volunteering. I'd gone on a lifeguarding course and I realized that my school didn't have a defibrillator. And 11-year-old me was not very happy about that after learning CPR for about 2 weeks. So I decided that I was going to fundraise through a unofficial sponsored silence that my school did not sign off on. Um, I managed to raise enough money to buy my school a defibrillator and then get it installed. And then after that, I kind of got the volunteering bug and just sort of started picking up more roles. So from there, I joined the UCL Beacon School Program, which is a program that raises awareness around genocide and human rights. I joined things like the school council. I was the head of sport for my school. And then after starting university, it just grew from there. I began volunteering in my local library over the summer before I started university. And then the main thing that I do at the minute is I volunteer for Strathclyde Law Clinic. So I'm a student advisor there and I'm also the EDI coordinator. So basically what that means is people who can't afford a solicitor and they don't qualify for legal aid, which is essentially everybody, can come to the law clinic and I will represent them in court. So I do an awful lot of work in and out of the Glasgow Tribunal. I also work with My Life, My Say, which are a like youth democracy organization. So I'm sure some of you might have seen in England, they've just managed to get votes at 16 passed. So My Life, My Say are involved in that. And I'm also involved in the Young Women's Movement as part of the Young Women Demand Steering Group, which are involved in basically discussing young women's rights and what political parties think about young women and their policies. And then also I'm with the Youth VIP panel, and I've also just been involved in the Cashback for Communities panel as well. So that's basically everything, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you, Allana. And do you know what's really funny is that anybody who knows Allana knows that sponsored silence for Allana would have probably been one of the biggest challenges. Allana has so much experience and knowledge and insight to be able to share that putting a
I think
cap on that would have been hard.
yeah, I mean, I think everybody realized because I managed to raise 2.5 grand. So I think everybody was like, yeah, trying to shut Alana up for a day is not going to go well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Allana. A really inspiring and very diverse journey as part of that as well. Thank you for sharing. Shaun, do you want to talk us through yours?
Yes, just like Allana, mine is very lengthy, so prepare yourself. So I started off in my last year of high school, where I volunteered at a local charity shop. Then after that, I went on to a heritage project in my hometown called Canal Craft, where we built the first rowing boat in my hometown for over 65 years, and I learned more about its culture and heritage. I then went on to volunteering during the pandemic online, which I would say was like the big start of my future volunteering journey, where I started on panels with Young Scot, Children in Scotland. I've been on panels with about various different topics: education, museums, climate change, all with a focus on youth participation and what young people's views and opinions. I then went on to become an I Will ambassador with Youth Link Scotland and the I Will campaign. I have been on young people funding panels where I decided, with a group of young people, where the money went to and what projects it went to as young people. I have been a volunteer first aider before as well. And I'm trying to think, it's an extensive list. There's so many I could list. My CV could be like 20 pages at this point. I've probably done so many one-off things. Oh, I've been a volunteer mentor before. So diverse range of volunteering roles that I have been in. And yeah, that's all that comes to the top of my head so far, but I've been in so many volunteering roles at this point.
Thank you so much, both of you. And you've both absolutely fantastically highlighted our volunteer ecosystem at Volunteer Matters, which has all shapes and sizes, forms, structures, all of that kind of stuff as well in between. So, volunteering is not one thing to one person, it is many, many things, right? One of the things I wanted to ask you both is what do you think it is about volunteering that keeps you coming back? You know, you've both had such incredible journeys and they've been very varied. What is it about you and volunteering that you think it just keeps drawing you back and you keep wanting to give your time and your energy to it?
I think for me, it's being able to see helping people essentially and seeing the impact of that. I've done so many different kinds of things, and I would hope to think I'm an inherently nice person. So I think most people are very empathetic, and when you can help somebody and like really see a difference in their life, it's really nice. I remember one time I helped when I worked as a librarian, I helped a woman apply for her benefits, and she just started sobbing because she couldn't use a computer. And it's things like that that you just sort of see the impact of it. And quite frankly, at the moment, the job market is hell for young people. So volunteering can give your CV so many additional skills and that kind of thing that you cannot access really without doing volunteering in some capacity. So I think people who are kind of on the older sort of spectrum of 30 to 25, the sort of like 21 to 25, they are much more likely to get involved in volunteering as a way kind of get on the job market because through my volunteering is where I've been given really profound experiences and then been able to go and get more impressive, let's say, jobs. Whereas I think if I hadn't been involved in volunteering, I would just, like be working a hospitality job. Whereas, for example, like next semester, I'm going to go and work for an MSP for, a couple of days a week. So it's that kind of thing. It's like the personal development is really nice, but then it's also the professional development. I think young people are very concerned about the cost of living and careers. So that really helps with trying to like commit to volunteering essentially.
Amazing, Allana. Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing from what you're saying, maybe to those on the call who are maybe advertising volunteering roles themselves, or wondering why they're maybe not getting cut through from maybe, or retention from their young volunteers, is especially for those that are maybe thinking about it as a professional step, then making sure that those opportunities to develop their professional skills is something that's a focus of that role, and giving space and time for people to be able to, think about the networks that they can create through
Yeah,
volunteering.
I think young people don't want surface level opportunities, which is what can happen quite commonly. Young people want to feel valued and like they can actually make a difference. Whereas what happens in certain organizations, it's sort of like you're pushing cotton wool a little bit. I think certain organizations could be very scared of young people and sort of like we've got all this safeguarding to think about and the health and safety aspects. So, but I think young people want to feel as though they can make a difference and that difference is valued because quite often that can not be the case in many volunteering roles. So young people just sort of see things like I know many people who've had bad experiences with charity shops or volunteering scenarios where it's very sort of like 70-year-old plus dominated. So I think if you can prove to young people that this will make a difference, not just like in their, it's like to them as well as to their community, that's something that's really valuable.
Thanks, Allana. And Shaun, for you, in terms of volunteering, what keeps you coming back?
For me, it all started off in high school when a lot of other young people started complaining about like certain things in schools. An example was, why do schools not teach life skills? And that made me start questioning like things around me. And then once I went on to volunteering, the one thing that it keeps drawing me back to volunteering is I struggled with anxiety, so my confidence and my self-esteem was very low. And through volunteering, I was able to develop my skills, develop my self-esteem, develop my confidence, which allowed me to become the confident person I am today. And also just that fact that I wanted to make small or big change. I don't care. Like I didn't care what size it was. I just wanted to make change because I started seeing like I had like a barrier where I saw like I couldn't see like the not perfect things in the world. And then the barrier started coming down and I started to see the world for what it actually was, and that there is like these issues out there that people face, certain communities face, and that inspired me to want to make change. So that's when I got involved with panels, advisory groups, all of that, to use my voice as a young person to advocate for young people and be part of youth social action. And also this became a part of it, is that I always say this: volunteering made me who I am today. Without volunteering, I would not be on the journey that I am on today. So through volunteering, I realized that community work was something that I loved, something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I found out that I could go to college and university to study community development and then get a job in it in the future. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I can get paid for what I love doing, huh? And I was like, sign me up. And then I applied straight to college. I got into uni, and now I'm in Japan. Like volunteering has made me achieve things that I never thought I'd ever get to achieve in my whole life. I've spoken at conferences. I have traveled to places that I've never traveled to, and it's really given me that boost of confidence, that boost of self-esteem, and it's really made me be able to use my voice and feel heard and listened to. And it's the same goes for other young people. They feel like that they've got a voice, they want to use it, and through volunteering opportunities gives them the perfect platform to use their voice in order to inspire change in the world. And that's when I decided that I also want to become a youth worker, to then be on the other side and help other young people be a part of this change and help them build their confidence, boost their self-esteem, and gain skills and for their future personal development. So that is just what draws me back. It's just from my personal experience and from hearing from other young people about how amazing how amazing volunteering is and what it means to them, and hear about their passion for wanting to make change in the world for youth social action.
Amazing. Honestly, if we could bottle what both of you have in energy, we would Yeah, we would not need to work another day in our lives. We could just volunteer all the time. Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. I'm conscious of time. I wanted to ask one more question before we maybe open to questions from those on the call, albeit I feel like I could talk to you both for hours. You mentioned both, and there's a theme running through the type of volunteering that you've done. And Shaun, you just mentioned it there about youth participation and having young people involved in maybe a process or a decision or an environment to help inform the youth perspective. We've seen this done before to varying degrees of success by other organisations. What do you think stands youth participation out from being tokenistic in terms of let's get a young person on and see what they think, to truly making a difference? Have you been part of environments where it's felt tokenistic? How has that been different to maybe those that you've felt have been more purposeful and created that social action?
I think the
Allana?
first thing is actually having youth participation embedded throughout an organization. What can happen, particularly in really large organizations, is they'll go, well, we've got a youth panel, so we're killing it. We've got a youth panel and we've spoken to 6 young people and we have neglected the other like 2 million. So and you look at that and you kind of think, right, so you've spoken to like 6, 8 young people, and they meet once a year. Great. And have they made recommendations? Not really. And if they have made recommendations, have those recommendations actually been implemented by the organization, or have they just gone, well, we've posted about it on social media, so we can say that we've done a good job? The thing that I really want to always see is like, okay, every charity has trustees or a board of directors. Is there a young person actually on that set of trustees or board of directors? Are young people valued throughout, instead of just being like, well, we've got them for a little bit, and then we can now kind of tick off that box, within ourselves to kind of say we've met with young people. Um, it's it's kind of it's very much like making sure that young people are valued and respected throughout and actually given real tangible opportunities. What can happen quite a lot is there's a big proportion of volunteers who are pensioners, and there's a really big generational age gap. And if you have a structure where there's no support for younger volunteers, it can become really problematic really quickly. So, for example, I actually, when I was a librarian, I actually very quickly left doing that because I was getting harassed for being disabled by some of my co-workers. And I tried to report it, but there was no proper reporting structure for volunteers. There was no support for young people. And they were basically just saying, oh, well, they're just older, so they don't really understand. And if there's not the support for young people in an organization, it can very much feel like, well, I'm just going to leave now. Like, there's nothing I can do if they're not going to listen to what I say. What can I do? And I think it's that thing of like always listening to young people and being there to support them at all times, because ultimately young people are very often exceptional and they should be valued. And so many organizations are just like, well, it can be difficult to include them, or maybe they're bringing up issues that we didn't want to talk about, like say you've got people with quite right-wing views, and you have a young person who's got maybe more left-wing views, or like is trans or something, and then you have older volunteers treating them very poorly is quite a common scenario that happens. So I think the support is really necessary, but also that it's embedded throughout the whole of the organization, instead of just being like, we've had one young volunteer for the first time ever and they've stayed for a little bit. That's not good, essentially.
Yeah. Thank you, Allana. That's really helpful. Shaun, thoughts on embedding youth voice?
For me, I can say what's really worked from my experience of embedding youth voice is that power dynamic. It's like, don't make sure that you have so much of the power that barely any of the power is with the young people. So make sure that decisions are made with young people. Make sure that you tell them like, okay, what do you want to do? So for like, what do you want to do as a panel? Give them a few suggestions, and that can then start conversations up. also just being real with them, being like, we're offering this opportunity, this is what it's going to look like, this is the time that you have to give up. Just making sure that you tell them that if you sign up for this, like they know what they're getting themselves into. And also that community engagement aspect, make sure that you go out and you reach a wide variety of young people in your communities or out with your communities that could potentially travel. Just making sure that you're trying to engage with as many young people out there as possible and offer this opportunity out to young people from all around your community and out with your community, if your project goes out that far, or if you want to hear from young people outside your community. And making sure that like maybe the opportunities within that volunteering program that are not just the same opportunities, making sure that they have a wide range of opportunities that they can get involved with, like offering that out to them, like send them an email, or for example, use Basecamp and Basecamp being like, we have this opportunity we're offering out to use, so that they have different opportunities to build their skills, build their knowledge, build their competence, etc. And they're not just doing the same thing all the time, which can become repetitive and boring and not fun. And also making sure that young people are informed about what their work is doing. So, for example, in one of the advisory panels, we did a little bit of work on vaping, and then the charity wrote a report about it, and then showed us the report and told us where the report was going to, etc. And that made us really informed in what our work was doing and how that work was like going into that wider issue out there. And then we heard that our work was then put into the vape ban, the vape guidance, etc., which was quite good. So making sure that young people keep informed about what their work is doing, because I hear that from lots of young people being like, once our work is done, like we don't hear about how our work is impacted, and we would want to hear about how our work is impacted, like out there in the world, etc. So that's what I would say would create a good environment for youth participation, as well as what Allana has said as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, both of you. There's so much value in there about embedding youth voice and understanding what that looks like from a cultural perspective as well. I'm very aware of time. I'm not sure whether there's any questions from those who are on the call, either to our panel members or to myself. I can't actually see the chat. So I'm relying on VM colleagues and also Aimee to do a little bit of chat monitoring. Is there anything coming through, Aimee?
There's nothing in the chat, I think, but what I'll do is I'll just unspotlight you all, and then we can see if there's if anyone has any questions for the speakers, for Shaun, Allana, or Sarah. If you can put your virtual hand up, that would be great. We've maybe got time for probably 2 questions max, if anyone's got anything in the room.
We must have bamboozled everybody with our volunteering insight and knowledge. I guess if everyone wants to be thinking about a question, I can let people know of a bit of an opportunity that we've got coming up as well, that we can make available to those that are on the call, and also Social Enterprise Scotland members too. So as part of our work at Youth VIP, we support organisations that involve young volunteers to essentially support them on how to improve their practice around recruiting, retaining and developing young volunteers. We've got a training session coming up in January, which we would love to create an exclusive opportunity for those who are SES members to come along and be part of. It's a 90-minute online session, and I can share details after this call with those that are interested. And it's relevant for those that are already on that youth volunteering journey, but maybe coming up against some barriers or some teething problems, or things that maybe they're wondering, am I doing this okay? Could I be doing it better? Can I improve? Or those that are really at that very early stage thinking about getting started. It's incredibly practical. There's lots of tips and tools to be able to take away, and importantly, to hear from your peers about what has worked, maybe some things that haven't worked, and making sure that we can promote best practice across the third and voluntary sector around youth volunteering as well. So I can follow up on that after today's session as well. But if nothing else, Maria, just in time. There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you,
just in
Maria.
time. Believe it or not, I was looking for the raised hands. I didn't want to be rude and just come in. And I'm looking at it, I'm like that. There's that many emojis. I'm like, where is it? Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Allana and Shaun for sharing their stories because it was really inspiring to hear them and everything you've did. And so sorry, my name's Maria Hendry and I'm a participation manager for Voluntary Action East Renfrewshire. I've worked around there volunteering for years, and I was a volunteer myself way long time ago. That I'm not thinking about, too long to think about. But I'm now overseeing a youth programme. It's called Make It Happen, and I've only recently took over that, probably about maybe 2 months now, and it's in its second year. So one of my colleagues was running it before me. But we are basically trying to help encourage young people into volunteering that are facing so many different barriers. So it can be, obviously, we've got lots of young people that refer to that are on the autistic spectrum. They suffer from social anxiety, low confidence, low self-esteem. God, there's an array of different things, and it's incredibly difficult because we're getting so many great young people through and referred to us. And I've got a great team of people that sit underneath me that run the programme as well, and they're amazing the work that they do with our young people. But it's also just a major challenge just to get young people volunteering ready, because and obviously COVID has had a big impact on a lot of the young people that's been referred to us as well, because they've been isolated for such a long period of time as well. And now obviously they're trying to kind of move forward and progress forward with their lives. And it's incredibly difficult. But to hear what you were saying, Shaun, about you were saying that you suffer from anxiety as well, in quite a large scale. But when I look at and I listen to your journey and how where do you were and where you now are just now, it just gives a lot of hope as well. Because for me, that's overseeing the project, and I've got 3 staff that are incredibly passionate about working with young people, as well. It's just really difficult that we can't do more to help the young people. And I suppose it's looking for different ideas. Maybe speak to different people as to maybe what approaches we can take to try and make their volunteering journey a bit easier, and to try to help them move forward and to experience volunteering as well. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and say that before we finish, because I know we're at 2 o'clock now and we'll be finishing.
No,
But
thank you, Maria. There's definitely things that, we can follow up on. For example, that research report has those 9 recommendations of what good looks like for young people with volunteering. So there'll be different formats and structures that we can try in that as well, in terms of how to engage young people on that journey too. So I'm sure, Maria, we can pick up offline and explore some of what you're already doing and some of those barriers as well.
yeah,
I think
And if you need to bottle some of Shaun, then, I'm sure he could
yeah,
do a video call from Japan again.
that'd be great. Why not? Yep. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
think I think the key thing there is knowing your young people. Like I myself actually have autism, and I was offered the opportunity to speak in Parliament, and I went with Fraser. And I think if I hadn't had somebody there who was really supportive, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It's kind of about like what opportunities fit that young person, how can you help them develop, and really like knowing who they are and what their interests are. So like for example, with Youth VIP, we get opportunities to send to us on Basecamp, which is basically just an online platform saying, anybody could do this one. We also get emails sent straight to you saying this is something that you're more suited to. And it's always offering that really supportive environment. So like we have all the time, like organizations that I work with will say, oh, here's a really clear agenda of what's going to happen on the day. Do you want to, meet people beforehand? And I think it's almost like building up to something, particularly with people who have autism. It's like, okay, so our aim is to maybe get you to like do a volunteering day. How can we get you from where you are now to that point? And it's like identifying sort of almost mini stages of like how those people can progress. So that like for example, for people with autism in particular, it can be very stressful to go to a new place and meet all of these new people. So it's like, okay, I like before I went to that event, I looked at what Scottish Parliament looked like. I had already worked with Fraser, so I knew who Fraser was. I knew I researched what the structure was basically going to be like. I got lots of information like via email. So it's kind of working around young people and trying to figure out what do they need individually rather than viewing young people as like some conglomerate. It's like, what are young people like in your area? What's that specific young person looking for?
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, that's great. Thank you for that, because I think that the approach that we are currently taking is trying to find bespoke opportunities for each individual person, because we do realise that everybody's passionate about different things. Everybody has to take the volunteering journey at their own pace as well. Especially if you are on the autistic spectrum, you do suffer from social anxiety, amongst loads of other things as well. And so we do try to speak to the young person and try and create. And I mean, we have went away many times and created bespoke opportunities. Or if we don't have access to a particular opportunity or a particular area of volunteering, we will then go that extra mile, and we will try to find out a wee bit more about an area that they are interested in, because it's not going to work at all if we don't get them volunteering. Certainly to even get them over the door and to come to us even for a meeting is a daunting prospect for a lot of young people as well. So we do tend to go to them as well, but it's like trying to think of different ways where we can encourage them even just to come out and meet us is can be a challenge itself. So therefore maybe the initial meetings tend to happen in their home with their parent there, or their carer or their guardian, whatever. As well. So try and even get to speak to a young person on their own sometimes, because you've got a lot of parents out there that are ever so protective, and rightly so, as well. But it's sometimes for us to hear the young person's voice, and for them to be able to speak maybe for themselves a wee bit as well. And that can also prove quite difficult for us, because we obviously want them to be heard as well, but just not maybe talking through maybe the voice of their parent or their guardian, be it it's well-meaning. So that can also be another kind of obstacle and a challenge for us that
Yeah. Thanks, Maria. I'm certain there's sure that we can take off stuff that we can take off online.
Sure.
I think Amy's going to follow up with some contact details, and feel free to get in touch, and we can see how we can best support.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I just wanted to say thank you and sorry I've held everybody up. So it's 2:05, so apologies. But yeah, I didn't know at least without asking or saying anything.
Everyone. No, thanks. That's been really good, and thanks to all our speakers. Thanks to Sarah for coming along and presenting, and thanks to the youth panel, Allana and Shaun. I think everyone can agree it was very thorough. I think that probably accounts for why there wasn't loads of questions after. I mean, I had questions, and then they were answered during the call. We will share this recording with this from the session, and we will share contact details and things, and the presentation will be sent out to anyone who couldn't make it along. We'll also share more info about the scope for the CES member-only youth VIP workshop. And I've posted our membership application and feedback survey in the chat as well. So if you wouldn't mind filling those out, that would be great. But yes, thanks everyone so much for coming along, and have a lovely rest of your day.